Every car meet has one. Most car guys start with one. And every dealership manager hates them. So why are Honda Civics the most modified cars on the planet? Well, this isn't just a trend. This is a legacy. And it all comes down to three things: price, power, and potential. Let's talk about why the Civic became the car guy's blank canvas. If someone says Civic build, odds are they're talking about one of these. The EG from 1992 to 95, the EK from 96 to 2000, the EM2 and ES from the early 2000s, or the 8th gen coupes, aka the golden era of the Craigslist turbo kids. And lately, the 9th gens from 2012 to 2015. The 10th gens are finally getting cheap enough to join the party too. And ultimately, these cars are light, around 2,300 to 2,500 pounds. That's close to the Miata's weight, with 2 more doors and a functioning back seat. And Honda made millions of these. So the supply chain, it's Facebook Marketplace and your cousin's backyard. And they're on the easier side to swap engines. It's almost suspicious. So let's talk about their engines. Every Honda nerd knows these by their letter codes: D, B, K, F, and J series. Then there's usually a number after the letter. That is the engine's displacement in liters. So D16 is a 1.6 liter. A K24 is a 2.4 liter. And for those that don't know, more displacement generally means more torque. And with that, every single horsepower and pound-foot means the world when you're working with such a light chassis. Now to Vtec. It's Honda's fancy way of giving you 2 cam profiles, one for fuel economy and one for power. At a certain RPM, the engine switches to an aggressive cam profile, and boom, instant angry bees. Or as most car guys call it, Vtec just kicked in, yo. Not every Honda engine has Vtec, but most do. Let's do a quick rundown of some of the most popular Honda engines. If you're enjoying this video, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to help us continue growing. It means a lot. Alright, so the D series. This is Honda's most basic 4-cylinder. Found in everything from Civics to Del Sols to the first gen Integra. There's the D16 Z6 and D16 Y8. Both came with Vtec, and both were tuner favorites for years. You get a single overhead cam, aluminum block, simple design. But they're not built to break records. They're built not to break. The D series is what you start with when you've got $500, a Harbor Freight socket set, and a dream. They love boost as long as you keep it around 200 to 230 horsepower. Anything past that, and you're on borrowed time unless you start building or forging the internals. They're also lightweight. The full engine weighs less than the average car guy's tool cart. And the wiring, basically caveman level easy compared to the newer stuff. The pros of this engine is it's dirt cheap and everywhere. It has a single overhead cam, which means it's less complex, incredibly easy to work on or boost, and it's great for daily driver builds or first-time builders. Now the cons. It's not a high revving engine like the B or K series. The internals start crying at around 230 horsepower. The single overhead cam limits top-end potential, and you're gonna outgrow this engine if you're chasing big numbers. The D series guys will tell you you don't need a B or a K series, and they're right, until you line up next to a K-swapped EG and suddenly your Vtec sounds like it's apologizing. Now, we're getting into the cult classics. The B series wasn't just Honda flexing, it was them making a statement. Dual overhead cams, high compression, and an 8,000 RPM redline. Engines like the B16A2, B18C1, and B18C5 turn Civics into scalpel-sharp weapons. The B16, only 1.6 liters. But it revs to the moon and makes power up high. The B18C1 from the Integra GSR give you a little bit more torque with the iconic Vtec crossover. And the B18C5 from the Integra Type R, that was Honda's masterpiece. Hand-assembled, factory LSD, aggressive cams, and a redline that sounded like angry bees in a blender. You've also got the B20 from the CR-V. Big displacement, but no Vtec stock. But that's where the Frankenstein build comes from. B-Tony block with a Vtec B16 or B18 head for the best of both worlds. But you also risk blowing up your engine, so you gotta do your research. Pros, legendary aftermarket support. Screens past 8,000 RPM. Vtec feels like a second turbo, and there's tons of build paths. NA, turbo, Frankenstein, and then the cons. Prices are going up. Clean B engines are getting rare. You need to mix and match parts carefully. Stock rods and pistons can't handle huge boosts unless you build them. Some transmissions aren't made for abuse either. Driving a B-Series Civic is like dating someone out of your league. Thrilling, unpredictable, and if you mistreat it, it'll absolutely leave you stranded. Okay, this is the one that changed the game. Honda launched the K-Series in the early 2000s, with engines like the K20A2 from the RSX Type S and the K24A2 from the TSX. At first glance, it's just another 4-cylinder. But the magic is in the head flow, the displacement, and the torque. The K20 revs high and builds power up top. The K24 is the torquey big brother with low-end grunt. And when you slap a K20 head on a K24 bottom, that's called the K20-24 Frankenstein. And it's a budget time bomb in the best way. You're looking at 200 to 220 horsepower stock and 300 plus with bolt-ons and tuning. Turbo it, 400 to 500 wheels is just a good tune away, and it's still dailyable. But there's a catch. The K-Series is smart, too smart sometimes. You've got to deal with drive-by-wire, immobilizers, and crank angle sensors that'll throw a tantrum if you look at it the wrong way. The pros? Modern tech, huge power potential, naturally aspirated or boosted. Reliable at high power, and tons of aftermarket swap kits available. The cons is more expensive to swap. It doesn't bolt into older Civics without cutting or rewiring. The electronics can get annoying really fast. You'll need Honda or K Pro to unlock full potential. To sum it up, if the B Series is your high school sweetheart, the K Series is that successful ex who hit the gym, got a raise, and now runs your dream garage. If engine families had a forgotten sibling, the F Series would be the one that nobody invites to the party, until they realized that it brought all the torque. Most F-Series engines were made for the Accord, Prelude, and CR-Vs, which means they weren't designed for sport per se, but ended up being surprisingly good at it. Take the F22B, an iron block 2.2 liter that came in early 90s Accords. Nothing special stock, but with a little boost, you're staring down 300 horsepower on stock internals. Or the F23A, another low-key 2.3 liter hero, with decent aftermarket support and enough headroom to make Civic owners raise an eyebrow. But then there's the F20C. This one, a totally different beast. Pulls from the S2000, this engine revs at 9,000 RPM and makes 240 horsepower naturally aspirated. Forced internals, high compression, Vtec that hits like a slap from God. It's technically an F-Series, but Honda basically treated it like a race engine. The pros? High displacement equals torque, especially in the F22 and the F23. It's cheap and overlooked, which means great budget swaps. The F20C is an NA legend with unmatched revs, and this series is good for turbo builds, especially in Accords or sleepers. The cons? Most F-Series engines are a single overhead cam, meaning airflow and top-end performance are limited unless modified, not including the F20C. They're heavy and tall blocks, which is not always ideal for Civics or low engine base. The aftermarket isn't as deep as the B or K series either, and the F20C swaps are pricey and complex. Transmission, wiring, and rear-wheel drive layout doesn't exactly scream easy. To sum this one up, the F-Series is like the quiet dude at the gym benching 315 with no spotter. Nobody talks to him, until he gaps them at a red light in an Accord coupe. Alright, now imagine pulling up to a meet in a Civic, and it sounds like a TL Type S on a bad day. That's the J-Series swap. A front-wheel drive V6 setup that makes absolutely no sense, and that's exactly why it works. These engines came out of Odysseys, Accords, Pilots, and Acura TLs. Common ones? J30, J32, and J35. Displacement goes from 3 liter to 3.7 liters, depending on the donor, and they're all torque monsters. We're talking 240 to 300 horsepower stock, with more low-end grunt than any 4-cylinder Honda ever dreamed of. And because they were built for bigger, heavier vehicles, they can take the abuse. You slap one into a 2,400-pound Civic, and suddenly you've got Burnout City, with torque steer from hell. The pros? V6 torque and a Civic-sized package. They're dirt cheap in junkyards. Nobody's hoarding them yet. They sound amazing. Deep, aggressive growls. They're great for building drag or sleeper cars. The cons? They're not really plug and play. They need custom mounts, axles, subframe mods, and transmission work. They're also a little bit heavier, which means that they mess with the handling balance. Also, the torque steer is real, and the aftermarket isn't as deep, and the parts can be annoying to mix and match. A J-swapped Civic is like duct taping a rocket to a lawn chair. Will it work? Technically. Should you do it? Absolutely. So yeah, cheap, modular, easy to wrench on, and built-in numbers that make Noah's Ark look understocked. You've got a Civic for every budget, and an engine swap for every personality type, from chill daily driver to full-blown chaos scalping. But here's the part that really makes all of this dangerous, because it's not just how many Civics exist, or how many engines will fit. It's about what happens when you drop 250 horsepower into something that weighs less than your mom's SUV door. Up next is the Civic's real cheat code, power to weight.
Let's test that memory. Which one of these engines did not come with Vtec from the factory? Is it A, B18C5, B, D16Y8, C, B20B, or D, K20A2? If you picked B20B, congrats. You probably spent more time on Honda tech instead of TikTok. If not, it's fine. your redemption arc is coming.
Let's talk physics, because you can throw as much horsepower as you want at a car. But if it weighs as much as a Dodge Durango with a donut addiction, you're not going anywhere fast. That's where the Civic cheats. Most of the golden era Civics like the EG hatch or the EK coupe are featherweights. We're talking 2,300 to 2,500 pounds out of the box. That's lighter than the new Miata, lighter than a GR86. Heck, some of them are lighter than the driver's ego. Now toss in a K20 making 220 horsepower, or a boosted D16 making 250, and you just built a car with the same power to weight ratio as a BRZ on steroids. Except, your Civic probably didn't cost more than a year's rent in Tampa. And unlike a lot of modern cars, Civics don't carry the extra weight for no reason. No heated massage seats, no 14-speaker Bose system, just sheet metal, a motor, and your bad decisions. The result? Instant power delivery, less drivetrain loss, and a car that feels alive. There's no lag, no bloat, just throttle, torque, chaos. And what makes this even better? Civics don't just accelerate well, they handle it. Front double wishbone suspension on earlier gens, a center of gravity lower than your expectations after opening marketplace, and a chassis that responds like it's been training for autocross since birth. So yeah, 250 horsepower in a Civic hits different. And that's the Civic's secret weapon. Lightweight, low cost, and lethal if you build it right. But it's not just what the Civic weighs, because when the platform is that good, the aftermarket goes absolutely feral.
Alright, let's see if you were paying attention or just vibing to the engine noises in your head. What's the approximate weight of a golden era Civic hatchback? Is it A, 2,800 pounds? B, 2,300 pounds to 2,500 pounds? C, 3,100 pounds? Or D, 2,000 pounds flat? The answer is B, 2,300 to 2,500 pounds. Lighter than a Miata.
If the Civic is the canvas, then the aftermarket is the wild raccoon with a paintball gun and no self-control. Because everything is customizable. Wheels? 1,000 options. Suspension? Take your pick. Static, coilovers, air ride, full track spec? Need aero? There are literally eBay kits modeled after cars that only exist in Need for Speed. And the best part? It's not just for looks. You can build a Civic to fit in any niche. Drag car? People are pushing 800 plus horsepower, depending on the motors that we just covered. Autocross monster? Strip it down, stiffen the chassis, and let it dance. Show car? You'll find K-swap Civics with engine bays cleaner than your last COVID test. And the community? They've already figured out everything for you. Mounts, axles, ECUs, gear ratios, boost maps. There are forums from 2009 that will walk you through a full K-swap in your garage. No trial and error. Just add to cart and rent your friends who all have the same exact car. And because Honda reused platforms like a kid with Legos, half of the parts fit across multiple generations. You can daily drive an EK and still pull parts from an RSX, TSX, CRV, or an old Accord. It's like a buffet, if the buffet lets you get Mustangs in third gear. And then there's the price. Try building an Evo or STI from scratch. Your budget's probably gone by the time you buy wheels. Now try building a Civic that handles just as well and goes just as fast. You'll still have enough left for a burrito and a used laptop. But with great modding comes great failure. Not every Civic survives the glow up. Some get clapped, some get stolen, and some get memed into oblivion. Up next, what happens when the community turns on its own car? Let's talk about the downside.
Let's see if you're still paying attention. Which of these is not a typical Civic build? Is it A, drag car? B, autocross build? C, overlanding rig? Or D, show car? Correct answer is C, overlanding rig. Don't try to take your Civic over rocks, just get a CRV instead.
Every hero has a dark side. And for the Civic, it's the Facebook Marketplace project car just needs a tune era. Because when a car is cheap, mod-friendly, and wildly popular, you get two types of owners. The one who engineers perfection, and the ones who straight pipe a D-Series and call it JDM. Let's be honest. Civics became the victims of their own success. They were so good that they ended up in the hands of everyone. Including that one guy who installs a body kit with drywall screws and says it's a drift build. You've seen the memes. Hood half off, missing bumper, paint that looks like it was done with a roller in Faith, wheels worth more than the car, built not bought stickers crooked as hell, and the result? Reputation damage. Ask anyone outside of the community what they think of Civics, and they'll say, oh yeah, those loud cars that rev at stoplights and scrape over everything. The clean builds get buried on the burnout videos and takeover fails. And now, Civics carry that same stigma. Even the fast, well-built ones. But that's what makes the Civic scene weirdly resilient. Because underneath all of that cringe, there's still a golden platform. Still the same cheap, lightweight car with more swap options than your local Chipotle. So yeah, some are clapped, some are cursed. But the Civic story doesn't end in the gutter.
Time for the last quiz. What does built not bought usually mean when it's slapped on a Civic bumper? Is it A, fully custom, pro level build? B, a clean, reliable daily? C, $2,000 mods on a $600 car? Or D, factory spec restoration? Correct answer is C, $2,000 in mods on a $600 car. And the stickers usually cook it too.
If you're still watching, chances are you actually give a crap about cars. So here's something to help you go even deeper. I made a full starter pack for beginners. 3 ebooks covering car basics, tuning, and buying your first project car. Plus a personal consult to help you not waste money on junk. It's called the Car Starter Pack. Links in the description. So, why are Hondas the most modified car ever? Because they're light, cheap, and easy to swap, and practically beg you to get creative. They taught an entire generation how to wrench, how to blow up engines, how to tell the difference between knock and it's probably fine. And yeah, some people ruin them, but that's what makes it beautiful. It's a platform that anyone can touch.